I'm self-employed. I have a YouTube channel and I'm earning money from it. Yay! And if you too have a YouTube channel and are earning money, or do side hustles, if you are a freelancer, an independent contractor, anything where you don't work for a company as an employee, you're self-employed. So I had done another video about budgeting on an irregular income, because I've been monetized here on YouTube for 3 months now. It's wonderful. And every month has been different. It's an irregular income. It cannot be counted on. I pretend I'm not going to make any money. That way I'm thrilled with whatever I make. I've always been a look at the worst case scenario kind of gal. And I know I'm, going to make some money as long as I do everything right and don't get dinged by YouTube or anything. And I am so happy, that this is working out. But I've been self-employed for years. Earlier this year, in fact, I had an Etsy shop. I've pretty much closed it down. I don't have it operating right now. And I don't think I'll ever open it again. I'm just tired of it. A video for another day. But I've done all kinds of things. I've done freelance editing, writing, I've started several businesses throughout my life. Some didn't last long, some were a few years. It just depends. I like to try new things. That's one thing I like about YouTube. I can do a video about all kinds of things that I've done that hopefully might help someone. But today, let's get back on track. I want to tell you about filing taxes as a self-employed person, because it's something you need to do. And I've done it for at least 20 years. Not a big deal. At first, it's very overwhelming and intimidating, and it's the IRS. But the IRS is just people like us. And if you keep your nose clean, you file, you pay your taxes, it's all good. It's not a problem. I've been audited once, and I forget what it was for. But it was very easy to clear up. I gave them some documentation and it was fine. And so I wanted to just run through some of the forms you'll need, because as a self-employed person, you're expected to make estimated quarterly tax payments. And I've been doing this also for probably the 20 years or more whenever I've been self-employed. And again, it's not a big deal. But they do want you to pay your taxes as you go. Because if you were an employee of a company, the employer would be doing that. The IRS wants their money all through the year. They don't want to wait and get it all at the end of the year. So it makes sense. And since it's quarterly, it's 4 times a year. And I'll run through the dates for you now of when those estimated quarterly taxes are due for 2025. And this changes every year according to the calendar. Okay, so the first estimated quarterly tax payment deadline has come and gone. That was April 15th of 2025. And it's for January, February, March. So this one makes sense because you know what you earned, what your expenses were. You can subtract your expenses because you don't have to pay taxes on some items if you do advertising, or you have supplies or different things like memberships for courses or anything like that that is related to your business or your work. You can deduct that generally. So the balance left from income, subtracting expenses, is your net income, basically. So for January, February, March, April 15th is when you need to have mailed in your check. I don't know if there's another way to do this. I mail physical checks because that's what I've always done. It works for me. And there's a form, and I'll put an image up here of the form. The form is called an estimated tax voucher, and this is how you pay the IRS for the taxes you owe so far in the year. So The next date is approaching. I'm filming this early in June. The next date when 2025 estimated tax payments are due is June 16th. And that's only because June 15th is a Sunday. So you have an extra day, but still, you need to mail it by that date. It needs to be postmarked, or it could be considered late and you might incur a fine. I've never had that happen either, and I have mailed them late when I've forgotten. Didn't mean to, but I just forgot. And you might wonder why the next date is June, because the first one is for January, February, March, and then it's due in April. Then June estimated payment is for April, May, June, but the payment's due in June. Doesn't make sense, but that's when it's due. And it should be July. For some reason, it's June. I don't know why. If you know somebody who works for the IRS, maybe you can ask them and let us know. I really don't know. It's weird. But that's how it is. Then in 2025, the third estimated tax payment is due September 15th. Again, this one doesn't make sense because this one is for July, August, September. And it's due in September. So you kind of have to estimate. It is called estimated taxes. So I don't know. Then the final one is due January 15th of 2026. And this one makes sense because it's for October, November, December of 2025. You pay it in January. That one makes sense. The April one makes sense. The other two are like a month early. I don't know why. But it's important for you to pay your estimated taxes, especially if you have any significant income, because they want their money as you go throughout the year. They don't want you to wait and pay it all at the end of the year or, in 2026, in the next year. So how do you actually make these payments? I get my taxes done through either VITA or AARP, tax assistance. And I think AARP is for retired people. And VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And I don't think you have to be retired, but I'm not sure. But these are free. I hate doing my taxes. I don't mind doing the estimated quarterly taxes. That's easy because I keep track of my income and expenses throughout the year. It's just a number, and I determine, according to how much I'm earning, what the payment should be. It's a percentage, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, but you can certainly look it up, what tax bracket basically you'd be in and what you would owe, what percentage of your income you would owe. Because I use VITA or AARP, they are kind enough to use my income tax information that they've just prepared for me, and I say, could you please print out my quarterly estimated tax vouchers? And they do. And they say, how much would you like to put that you are going to owe? Because it's a thing that you can pre-fill. And so I tell them a number, and this year, thank goodness, I'm going to have to mark that out, and it's going to be more. I love paying more taxes because that means I made more money. And I had estimated just a few $100s each payment. But this year, because of my YouTube income, it's going to be more. And I really do not mind paying taxes because I like roads and I like schools and libraries and most things that taxes pay for. So it's good for me. I don't mind it at all. So I just wanted to go over a few things about, being self-employed, having to pay taxes. It's different than when your boss withholds the tax and pays it for you. You have to determine what you're going to owe. And like I said, there's your income and there's your expenses. So I just jot down in my little planner where I write everything. If I spent some money on YouTube, like if I had a subscription to something, or if I bought something I was going to use in a video, which I did when I was doing crafts. But for my talking videos like this one, I don't really buy much. You know, I already have this chair, my rocking chair, and I have that picture on the wall already, and I have that bookshelf. You know, I don't really need much. I have my phone, I have the tripod it's on. So, but when I did buy the tripod, that was an expense because I didn't need a tripod unless I was doing these videos. So, different equipment, subscriptions, whatever you need that's a legitimate expense, you know, keep track of that. And then you will be able to subtract it at tax time and not have to pay money on all of your income if you have legitimate expenses. So I would say just keep track of everything. And if you do your own taxes, great. You know, figure out if something's a supply or a like equipment type expense or a subscription, a course, a membership to something. You know, just keep track of all that and see what works that you can legitimately deduct so that your tax burden is a little less. And I'm all for that, but I don't try to fudge it. You know, it's like I deduct half of my cell phone bill because I use data on my phone when I'm out and about, if I'm filming or something, or, you know, I deduct half of my Wi-Fi expense, half for personal, half for business. And I've always done that, and it's always been fine. I don't deduct the whole thing because I use my phone to play Candy Crush a lot. And I'm not expecting the IRS to give me a break for doing that. That's not fair. Not going to do it. So, I think that's about it. I don't want to ramble too much because that's a problem for me. I tend to ramble a lot. But I am do-it-myself Peg, and this is my frugal living, self-employed, you know, budgeting, just talking channel about my life. And if you'd like to see more of my videos, maybe consider subscribing. And if you liked this one, hit that like button. It helps out my channel, and I appreciate it a lot. And please leave a comment if you're self-employed or if you have questions. I can do my best to answer them. I'm not an expert. Maybe I am, but you know, I don't claim to be an expert at all. I'm just giving you my experience of what I've done as a self-employed person. And it is a little intimidating. You know, anything with taxes can be kind of scary, but it's not a big deal. I've been doing it. I've never, you know, like I said, I got audited one time and it was easily rectified. I don't even remember what it was. It was not a big deal at all. And I'll see you next time.